There are people who make a living from writing, but me, I write to live. I write to live right now at this point in my life. It's something that I'm doing every day. I'm always writing. I'm always working. It's somewhat of a compulsion. It's somewhat of a necessity because it's really what keeps me going. Um, I know I have obligations. I know I have things, reasons to be around, reasons that I ought to be around. But as far as those things go, uh, it's easy to come up with uh, it your mind develops uh, devious tricks of basically saying, well, it wouldn't real this you're really needed to be around for this or for that. You wouldn't really be putting so anyway, uh the and if I had a faith that was more devout, then that would be something that would keep me going. But unfortunately, faith is somewhat difficult. It's something that I practice, but um, the prohibitions against exiting stage left, that have always been a part of the Catholic faith. Um, I don't know if that. What I'm saying is, what it's writing that is the incentive that keeps me going day to day, and it's somewhat of a grim situation when you're writing for nobody. Essentially, you're writing, and I'm not saying this to try to invite pity, but I'm just trying to describe my situation. Um, I don't have a widespread audience. I don't have that many people who read what I write. So I end up writing out of a feeling of necessity, and then I create things that I'm proud of and that I think are worthwhile. Um, but there's something really strange about the feeling of creating for nobody. You know, you've got to create or creating for, I don't know, just a niche audience. And a niche audience is a nice way of saying very few people. You know, so so nevertheless, I write every day. I don't know if it's wanted or needed or it's something that I've just begun to do, um, in a sense compulsively, because it's what I feel I was put here to do. And at this point in my life, at this juncture, at the age that I'm at, the life circumstances that I currently face, it's essentially it's essentially all that I have. Um, Now it doesn't pay the bills, or it gives a little bit of supplemental income, but it certainly doesn't come anywhere close to paying the bills as it would if I were writing for a non-niche audience. But it does give meaning to my life. And I think it's something that God has given me to sustain me. But it sure would be easier if there was a sense of that it wasn't just an echo chamber. The few people who read my work don't really say much to me about it. I don't hear back from quote unquote fans all that often. So I'm not saying that to I'm not saying any of this. I'm really not. This is not an appeal for pity. This is not an appeal for. It's just not me saying, please read my stuff. Please read my stuff. And if you read it and you don't dig it, that's fine. That's fine. It would be silly of me to say, you have some kind of obligation to read it, or that you have some kind of obligation to like it. But, it's just creating these characters, creating these stories, creating these worlds, and knowing that it's mostly if my works were just all to be gone tomorrow, it wouldn't really matter to anybody but me and maybe a few other people. That's a real kick in the nuts when you're 55 years old. I'm not gonna lie. But nevertheless, I go on writing. I will go on writing. Because I live to write.